Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Today, we're just going to look through a very interesting paper by Jacob Steinhardt over at the University of California, Berkeley. And it basically addresses what ChatGPT will look like in the year 2030. And he cites some of his methodology of how he kind of comes to these conclusions. He says projects of future compute and data availability, improvement of specific benchmarks. And the beauty of this analysis is that he not only does he address how difficult this task is, but it also points to some great literature on like the topic of transformers, artificial intelligence scaling, and it also kind of for all of those who are trying to build products with ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, are scared for our jobs. It gives us kind of a good lens through, see where the technology is going to go, and hopefully intercept it at a reasonable time frame, which is 2030. So some of the first, kind of the biggest points that he makes is that it's going to have superhuman capabilities in engineering, mathematics, hacking, for a few reasons, mainly just because it's going to be so fast in compute, and that you're going to be able to simultaneously run a few models back to back. And these models will kind of interact with each other extremely efficiently. And kind of a very important component of all of this is the fact that these models are going to be trained on modalities that are not just language. And this is something that seems obvious in retrospect for anybody that's training machine learning models. But it's going to be things like molecular structures, network traffic, low-level machine code, astronomical images and brain scans. And basically the point of this is that we have so much data on astronomy. We have so much data on genome, DNA data. And later in the article, he kind of specifies how much of that we have, is that these models are going to be hyper adapted to modalities that we're not used to, like mathematics, astronomic data and all that stuff, digital data, and surprisingly maladapted to things that we as humans are really well adapted to, such as physical, spatial reasoning, emotions, and all the like. So in the capability section, he mainly just specifies how, in what ways, these GPT, the projected GPT of 2030 is going to excel, at programming, hacking, math, and information processing. I mean, all of this makes good sense because all of this is digital data which can be fed into the model and train it. Here again, he kind of reiterates that they'll have a different skill set than humans, particularly the modalities that the models are going to be trained on. The models are just going to be better at than humans. So here he kind of goes through the inference speed, which they'll get to a point where it's going to be far faster than us. That's all the really takeaway from there. The throughput and the parallel copies is just that you're going to be able to have multiple instances of the model running through your system, and kind of dividing and conquering blazingly fast. And this is something to really consider, is the fact that we're going to be greatly outmatched in the computational intelligence side of things. And he kind of goes deeper into the paper as to why that might not be a terrible thing. And we'll get to that in a second. These modalities are going to be coming from something quite interesting that he pointed out is more exotic data sources. So, for example, one of the more interesting parts is that astronomical data and genomic data are exabytes per day. And I don't know exactly how much an exabyte is, but sounds like a lot. Let's see. 1 billion gigabytes. And that's the daily output. So these models will have unintuitive capabilities, and they're just going to be able to do stuff that we find quite insane, especially and it's going to be unintuitive because we're not going to be used to that level of intellect. Again, this is a pretty there's just so many great little nuggets of information. But OpenAI is already investing in humanoid robotics company. Let's see what it was called. 1X Technologies, $23 million. They've invested in humanoid robotics, partially to kind of harvest that physical data rather than the digital. And also, there's kind of this website that I had never looked at called Metaculus, where people kind of bet on different predictions. And this one is, when will the first general AI system be device tested and publicly announced? And this is the year that people expected to do it. And this is the prediction across time. There's been a couple of dips. April 2023, I think that's what ChatGPT is working on. And this final part is the kind of the most interesting area for all of those of us who are, as I said, trying to build products on this platform, and also those of us who are thinking about our jobs. You know, if you're, in knowledge work and finance, research, whatever thing that might be affected by ChatGPT's incredible powers. Basically, the strength is that you're just going to have a super high output workforce. Just he points to these numbers. It's 1.8 million years of work across parallel copies in two and a half months. Which you can simulate 360,000 agents working for a year each in 3 days. And so this will give us incredible capabilities to create products and kind of workforces around whatever idea it is that we have. I mean, this is an incredible opportunity for anybody getting into this. Now, also for us to consider and to realize that there's still limitations to this. And this is what he kind of predicts for them to be, is that these models are not as robust as we would like them to be. I mean, and to be quite honest, neither are humans. Something that really requires autonomy, such as like investing, is something that I thought about, is that you can't have an AI do that because that's somebody's capital. And the issue is that when you invest enough money and you lose enough of it, you can't regain it. So you kind of need kind of sandboxes and environments where the artificial intelligence can iterate, have high iteration. And then he just goes on to, and so at the end he kind of covers the limitations. And the two biggest things that are the biggest takeaways from here is that these machine learning models are going to have a different skill profile, so they're going to be attuned to different modalities, as we talked about. They're not going to have the biological and evolutionary advantages that humans have, and also the issue of kind of alignment, which is the model doing the things that you want it to do. So an example that we might be familiar with is how AutoGPT will just kind of go on a rampage of doing random stuff after enough iterations, and it'll kind of lose context and the model will fall apart, which is something that can conceivably be bridged. But he just kind of talks about getting more reliability and robustness. But I don't know if that's one of the biggest bridges to cross. Anyway, the things that GPT will be the most impactful in is things that the modalities that the models are strong with, things that have data that can be cleaned and collected easily, digital data, and then things that can be decomposed into little tasks and kind of put together, things that are repetitive. So one of those things is mathematics. Another of those things would be programming and running experiments. And another one of those would be like doing social science, and just kind of hunting down papers and knowledge finding. So another vector of misuse could be just GPT learning extremely quickly how to manipulate humans. So if it interacts with 1 million of humans for 1 hour, that's 114 years of observing how to possibly manipulate humans. And kind of uses an analogy of humans being really good at manipulating other humans by getting practice on victims, and GPT 2030 could do the same thing. That's an interesting point. Anyway, so all these things are super interesting. Curious to hear what you guys think about this. It's exciting to kind of think about the ramifications and kind of trying to figure out where this technology is going to go since it's moving so fast, and trying to build a software product, or making career plans during these times of uncertainty is such a difficult task. So curious to hear what you guys think. I'm going to link to the article in the description. Anyway, see you later.